Hi, I'm Gum and I'm here chatting with Milky. Saturnia, I was going to there's a song on the album called Saturnism, which is, I guess, easier to pronounce, but I didn't want it to get confused with, or like not confused, to be referencing Tame Impala lonerism. So I bailed, couldn't use the ism. But that song is, I got really obsessed with and afraid of building materials in my old house. I've got 2 young kids, and there was only one at the time when I wrote the song, but one kid, but of lead paint. Asbestos and lead. I've always been obsessed with asbestos, like an irrational fear. There's lots in Perth, but of lead paint and lead poisoning. And anyway, that Saturnism is like an archaic term for lead poisoning. It's a much more like poetic word for it than I'm afraid of lead, So that's not really what the album's about, but it worked well for my, like, what I was going through. It got so bad I had to go to psychiatrists and stuff, I was that paranoid about it. And it also has Saturn in the title, which is cool. And with the artwork, with the kind of like light ring from my head, and I don't know, just all worked out well. I think that with making music, I'm a lot more confident than I used to be. I think that I was always quite like ambitious, but not very confident in that what I was doing was any good. And now I sort of trust my own taste and judgment and ability to make things more than anyone, more than even my friends or peers or reviews or anything, I've developed a sort of internal smugness that I think has actually helped me rather than being constantly self-deprecating, which was actually, I think, holding me back from making stuff as good as I could, to the best of my ability. The overall sonic makeup of the album, I feel like that's the bit that comes more easily or naturally to me, just because I like playing with sounds and all the toys I have, and I kind of always just go with what, musically anyway, the first thing that I plug in, I try and make work. I think for me, the hard bit about making music and making records is putting emotion into it through lyrics. Like I don't think I'm a natural lyric writer. I've had to like work really hard to make them half decent. Whereas I feel like I could make music, instrumental music, just sort of every day forever. So yeah, that bit's really fun and comes quite naturally. It's the words part that takes a while. I think I try and not make lyrics too sort of emo, but having said that, I think it's like I find it quite like if I write a song about something that I'm anxious or worried or depressed or whatever about, I find that it makes me realize how silly, or not silly, how, I don't know, it's like taking a step back from it. And I find that very therapeutic. And then other times it'll just be a collection of just phrases that have popped into my head. I mean, a lot of songs I write, I literally will make melodies and turn the gibberish into words, and I like doing that because it feels like it's not even me, the conscious me, that's coming up with the word. If I go and then I'll make that into the closest words that it sounds like, and I like that because it's almost like someone else is writing it. It's like my subconscious is, and sometimes I get cooler things than if I was consciously sitting down going like, I'm going to write a song about this. Obviously it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's pretty, not that good, but I like writing things that way. The general through line of the album, I think, but maybe even all my music, is how easy and how close I am, or we all are, from sort of losing your mind a bit, For me, it's such a fine line between being really put together and kind of losing the plot a bit, I guess. And that's kind of what this album's about. And I guess kind of what all my music's about, I guess, because that's when I get introspective, that's what it's always been like mental health stuff for me. Even when, I don't know, we didn't use that term. It was probably when the first album was made, you know what I mean? But that's what it's about, I guess. I write. I don't really write sort of love songs or songs about. I mean, I've written songs. There's a song about my kid actually on the album, and I've written songs about like my partner and stuff. But I've been with them for so long. I've been with her and then my kids obviously for so long that it's like, I don't know. It's not. I don't really write that. I don't really write that sort of music. It's more self-absorbed, for use of a better word. I started off with quite a clear idea for the album of like what it was going to sound like, which I usually do. And then I get distracted by other ideas I have. And because it took a while, this one, because I had like a new kid and was doing that most of the day instead of, recording music. I like just thought, like it sat in my head for a lot longer. Things I'd written, I like sort of wrote them in my head, which I think made it better because I didn't just think of it and then record it immediately. I like workshopped it in my brain and I really got to like know the songs. So I think I like to think it's my most like realized bit of music, But yeah, it ended up more sort of all over the shop than it was supposed to. It was supposed to be like a really, like each song sounding the same sort of record. And it didn't end up like that, but that's okay. Yeah, it's better to follow your like newest and best ideas on things than try and like compartmentalize ideas for other projects or save ideas. I find saving stuff is never a good idea because you'll just come up with something else and that'll get pushed to the side, or you won't give it the excitement that it deserves when you first come up with it, I think. Recording my own stuff is quite different to doing stuff with Pond. It's done in basically the same way. Like we record ourselves in Pond and I record myself, and there's occasionally we'll have a friend come and to help us record it. But I think the main way that differs is it's just not as collaborative. It used to be hard work in Pond trying to determine like which songs go on the album and which way we took songs and that. And now instead of, for me, after doing so much stuff on my own, which I love, but for me now, instead of it feeling like a hard work, I find it such a joy to like do things with other people, especially like probably after the pandemic, not to bring it back to that, but it's like, it's no matter how good the thing you think you're making is, it's still, to be honest, it's hard for it to be that much fun on your own. Like, or you would have to be fairly into yourself to have that much fun doing it on your own. It's more that you just doing it because you want to and you have to. Whereas with Pond, it's like it's just like we're laughing the whole time. Even when it's serious music, it's like it's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like a get together with your mates, which is I think I really like cherish now. I think I'm really big on like economy of time. I think my whole life, or my whole like music making life, I've had more things that I've wanted to do than I've had time to do. And yeah, especially now with 2 kids, I have even less time to do stuff. So being able to record yourself and mix yourself and do most of it yourself, it's, I don't know, it just saves a lot of time. I still like, I always get people's opinions, and I still like to get other people, like there's people, my friend Jesse wrote and played all the strings on this album, and Harriet from Hatchie did vocals on a couple of songs. I still send stuff out because it gives it more, makes it more 3D when other people are involved. But yeah, I think it just, I don't know. I only do one thing in this world. So I like to be as good at it and like be able to do as many parts of it as I can. I've got Photoshop now. I mock up. I do really bad graphic design. I mock up like artwork. But it all just sort of saves time. And to be honest, money. It's very expensive to make music and put music out in an industry where there's not a huge lot of money flying around. Well, certainly at the level my like Gum records are at. So I can't imagine how much money I must have saved just by doing it yourself. I still get someone to master it. I think it's good to have like another set of ears, and also like someone who's been doing it for a long time, like a professional, to just finish it off. It's like the final coat of paint. But yeah, I like learning. It's like learning to cook better or something, you know? If I had to play it to someone to make them I guess that would be what is the most like universally appealing ones. I honestly don't know. I've got no perspective. Track 2 is called Muscle Memory, which is like kind of just an instrumental, but I don't know, that kind of like, that's one of the like gnarlier or like harder hitting sort of things I've made. It was my attempt at making Stevie Wonder heavy metal. Yeah, and I like that, and I think it's going to go for a minute and a half, so by the end of that you can decide if you like my music or not, you know. To be honest, I don't know what people can expect from a GUM live show, because I've done a little bit of touring with like other musicians before, like different lineups and different formats of bands. I will never have played this many shows with like a full band, you know, like drums and, you know, I think there's 16, 18 or something this year. So I'm excited, but I'm also very nervous. It's like, it's kind of like touring, sort of like, if you do it all the time, it's like, you know, it's so second nature. It's kind of like when you go, you know, when you go overseas or you go on holiday or something, and then you come home and you haven't driven your car in 2 months and you like feel like you're a like P-plater again. It's kind of like that, I think. So I don't really know what to expect, but I'm just excited to play just, you know, guitar really loudly in clubs, you know. I guess it's what you like when you're a kid. So when I was a kid, I liked Stevie Wonder and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Led Zeppelin. So we'll stick with that. No, I never really thought about that, but there's a couple of new bands I really like. I like this band Jockstrap from the UK, and I like this band Water From Your Eyes from New York. They're both like two of the most interesting new things I've heard in a while. I guess you just got to go back to being a kid. I know every word of Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I probably haven't really listened to it since I was about 13, but it's all in there, you know. Terminator 2, I think would be... I think I'd have a lot of fun making a soundtrack to that, a new soundtrack. Yeah. It depends on what part of the tour you're performing in. At the start, it's just pure like shit. I hope I don't stuff this up. I hope this is going well. And then in the middle, I feel like that's when you're sort of playing your best shows because you're comfortable, but you're still not complacent. And then by the end of the tour, you know, you can be guilty of sort of being like, I wonder if they're still doing room service like when the show's done, you know, because you've played it 20 days in a row and it's muscle memory, you know. So yeah, it's amazing how much it changes over the course of a month, what you're thinking on stage. I never saw Hannah Montana, so Miley Cyrus. I used to like to play on keyboard once I got piano lessons. I learnt, like, the fanciest thing I learnt was Shake Your Tail Feather, which is from the Blues Brothers. Like, was it Ray Charles in that movie? Yeah. So that's probably still the like fiddliest, fanciest thing I can play, actually. First concert I went to was Big Day Out, 2005. I was 15, and I went to see. It was sort of like the big like rock revival era. So I went to see White Stripes and Kings of Leon and those sort of bands. And I saw Iggy and the Stooges, and it was really loud. I'd never been to any gig before, let alone like in front of a massive PA. And it it was really hurting my ears. I was like, they'd been untouched. And I remember ripping up the program and trying to put it in my ears to protect them because I didn't have earplugs. And then I was freaking out for like the next week that I had little bits of paper programs in my ears. So that's my memory of that. It was a wild ride. My dad came, but he didn't, I don't know, I think he just wanted to go because he wasn't really like, he didn't come to supervise. I was with my mate and he just went off and watched like Mars Volta and all this, you know. I guess in 2005, my dad was not very good at maths, 46. So, you know, he's still pretty young and he went and saw all these bands and like stand-up comedy tent and all this stuff, yeah. I've seen some pretty amazing ones over the years. I went to a festival. We played a festival once in Scotland, Tea in the Park, and it was back to back, like on one stage and then the other stage, the other side of the festival. It was Beyonce and the Strokes, like on different stages. So we watched like 20 minutes or half an hour of Beyonce and then 20 minutes of the Strokes or something. And then we had to go. But I remember being like, that was a pretty awesome, like 40 minutes, like Beyonce coming down from this big white period. You know, because festival sets often don't have that much production, but this was like just crazy. And then the Strokes play sort of, you know, all the songs from my youth. So I remember that being a pretty epic 50 minutes, you know. First album I ever bought was Stevie Wonder. I've said it a lot now. Definitive Collection, which is such a funny, like, it's such like adult music for like a 11-year-old or whatever. It's because I did like a jazz class and my teacher played heaps of Stevie Wonder songs. It was like a Stevie Wonder best of. It's funny, the stuff you like when you're a kid, it's just, I'd say like 4/5 of it is still just my favourite music, you know? A Spice Girl, I think, would be a lot more fun. Their story is maybe a little bit less like, is the Backstreet Boys story sad or dark? I don't know. I feel like they're having a lot, other than a bit of like fighting with each other, they're all still around and, mates, and Tame Impala dressed up as the Spice Girls years ago for a Halloween in San Francisco. That was really fun. I was Baby Spice. So yeah, Spice Girls, yeah. I don't know, Old Spice. I don't know. I find it hard to listen to covers just because, like, I'm always really flattered, but also, I don't know, like embarrassed that it's my song or something. You know, like that other people have to sing my lyric. So I don't know, pass. Well, I don't know. There's been a few along the way. Yeah, it's hard. It depends what sort of music you're talking about. I think that, I don't know who comes to mind. Madonna, Michael Jackson. With rock music, I guess Jimi Hendrix or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Spice Girls had a big influence in the late 90s. I don't know. It's influence is a hard thing to measure, you know, in music. It's like something, you know, like there's bands like the Ramones or something, you know, which are quite popular and everyone knows, but the like sounds they made and the clothes they wore or whatever is still just all around you, like more than how big that band actually was. So I don't know, it's hard to quantify. Just always trying to give myself the same advice, which is to not worry about things that don't matter, you know. When I went to see someone once, they call it catastrophizing, you know. It sounds more serious than it is, but it's like, you know, you're always something happens that's really mild and you catastrophize and come up with the worst case result of it. And so I just always trying to be a bit self-aware when it comes to that. So yeah, that would be my advice probably till I die. I don't remember a moment when I wanted to be a musician. I had a little toy keyboard in the car when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something. And I was really into it. And then I don't know, I like sport a lot. And then I think by about 12, 13, I was doing drums and stuff. And I was like, you know, I'd have dreams about like Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers breaking his arm. And then they were like, who can play drums, you know? And I went up there. So, yeah, 13 or so, seriously, 4 casually.